Whoops. Let me switch that. Hi, everyone. It's Monster Art School with our old creepy sign that I still haven't printed out a new one of because I can't find it. So anyway, that's our old sign. But today we're going to do Fenris Wolf, or Fenrir is another name for him. He is the son of Loki. Yes, the god Loki from all of those Marvel movies that you like so much. And the son of Angerboda the Giantess. The giants in the old Norse mythologies, one of their many traits was to be able to change shape and move around and do different things. And same with Loki, because Loki was half giant. So because Loki was half giant,
frost giant.
well, he was half Jotnar. They didn't call them frost giants in the Norse mythologies. That's how Marvel Comics calls them. But they're actually called Jotnar. Jotnar. Or Jotun is, I think, the Jotnar, I think, is the single, and Jotun is the Jotun is the plural, I think, or it's the other way around. I'm not sure, but we can maybe do a giant later on this week. So we're gonna go back to some of the things that we've done already. Like we've done wolves in the past, right? But I think we're gonna take a different tact on this one because Fenris is supposed to be larger than a man. It's supposed to be gigantic. So part of this is going to be, how do we show something really big on a piece that, in a piece of artwork that, so, you know, if I just draw a wolf, it's just going to look like a wolf, right? So we have to make this wolf special in some way because we need to make it, you know, this monster, Fenris. But also, I want to have something to show how this creature is different than any other wolf. So I'm going to pull out my old book on wolves, and I'm going to look for, ooh, there's a scary face. I'm going to look for some ideas on what will make a wolf look different. So here's one thought here. This wolf is stepping into a pond, and you see the grass there? Well, that's what you would expect a wolf's size to be against the grass or against a tree. So I think maybe what we should do is make this wolf appear to be bigger than we expect it to be. And that would really make it into a wolf. Look, he's catching a mouse in his mouth. How he did that, I don't know. That's pretty cool though, huh? So what we're going to have to do is, the way to show that something is bigger than it should be, or we expect it to be, is to show it next to something that we know the size of. And that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to show Fenris Wolf next to some Viking buildings and a mountain and some trees. So we're going to make a little scene. And that way, this is a fox. That way we know that Fenris is not just your regular wolf. So let's get started. All right. I'm going to have my pictures here. If you want, one thing to do that I always do, especially when I'm drawing animals, is I always get a few pictures of the animals to draw them, because I want to make sure that I get things like their anatomy right and just essentially get this general sense of how they move and how they interact with the world. So the first thing I want to do, though, is I'm going to look up some, I already did. I looked up some Norse buildings, and old Norse buildings have a really cool, like, here, I'll draw on the back of this sheet. Old Norse buildings, it's actually kind of interesting. For those of you who know anything about architecture, I find their roofs to look a lot like Japanese architecture. They tend to have these very high-pitched and curved roofs, at least on the more important buildings, like churches and great halls. Their roofs are kind of pitched. So they would have big roofs like this. And so the buildings have this very kind of, they're made up of lots of kind of squares and triangles, and those are the roofs, and then the body of a building might be like this. And then you might end up with a steeple up here, like that, and another roof like this. So it kind of has this interesting sense of, again, this is not an exact building, but it kind of has these curved roofs. And if you notice the way I'm drawing this, a lot of these are going back to our basic shapes from weeks past, where we had a cube like that to build the foundation of a building. So you have a cube, and then we're going to make a cube, and then we can add kind of another version of a cube like this. And notice that as I'm drawing, I'm tilting these in toward each other, and these ones I'm tilting in even more. And I'm tilting these ones even more to make them look like a pitched roof as opposed to the straight up and down walls. Okay? So if I had another pitched roof coming out here, it would come out like this. And like that. Pitched means slanted. And I want them to have even more of a curve to them. Because like I said, if you look at pagodas in Japanese architecture, or buildings in Chinese architecture, they also have these kind of curved roofs. And not all Norse buildings were like that, but a lot of them were. Some of them had fronts like this, and they might have grass growing on top of them up here. And you'd have a front like, a door in here. But that basic shape is what? That's kind of an ellipse, right? And then you might put some wooden slats on the front and basically draw like maybe a window up here or a circle window. And this, believe it or not, they would have grass growing on the roof. And sometimes this would go all the way down to the ground, and sometimes it would just be a little bit higher than the ground, like that. Sometimes it would actually go all the way down into the ground. And they also had houses that looked like kind of a regular, like typical house like this, right? What you'd expect, which is basically a box and a triangle. You have your cube and you have your triangle. But the thing they would do is on one of the two roofs, they would have this go all the way down to the ground. And then they would grow plants up here. They grow grass on this side of the house. And so a door might be that big. So the inside of the house is actually, like if you were standing there, you'd be like this big. So the actual size of the house was really kind of not that big, right? Whereas this kind of a place here, the door might be this big and you'd go walking in, right? And on this one here, the door might be that big and you'd walk in. It would be double doors because it's a big church type of building. So what we want to do is we want to set up the world around us. So by having these comparative things, like we could have these buildings, these different buildings, we could have trees, right? Things to compare. And by comparing, like if I throw a tree there, we now know that this building is bigger than a tree, right? If I throw a bush here, we know that the bush is smaller than the tree and the building is bigger than both the bush and the tree, right? So now if I draw a wolf that's way up here, we now know that that wolf, I'll just draw a little thing like that, is bigger than the building, the tree, and the bush, okay? So we're going to deal with that in this piece. So let's get to drawing. Hey, Luna, you're going to draw with me, or are you just going to watch today?
I am.
You are?
No,
okay.
I am. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, then come along and sit down and draw, because we're going to get started, okay? So what I'm going to say today is we're going to draw a scene. And so the way we're going to start with a scene was a little different than what we've done in the past. A lot of times we just draw a creature, maybe we draw like some ground. But here we're going to draw a scene, because part of this is trying to create the sense of what makes this wolf different than another wolf. So we're going to have to start with just an idea of what shape we want the scene to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about what the ground is going to be. And I'm going to draw an arc, kind of like what we did yesterday. We drew an arc like this, right? It doesn't have to be a very pitched arc, just a gentle arc, okay? And then maybe we'll put up here, we'll put some triangles to create. Okay. Okay, I think Luna's not going to be in today. She's hungry and she needs to go eat something. So she may come late. All right. But you can come in late. So what I did was I drew 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of angles. They're very light, right? I'm keeping it light because I don't want to necessarily commit to anything just yet. Down here, I'm going to draw some really loose like bubbles, okay? See what I'm doing? Like just bubbles, like drawing some bubbles around. And what those are going to be is kind of like an indication of where I want to put some trees. And that's just for me to know for later on so that I can come back in. And I'm going to finish some of these lines, bring them down for the mountains up here. Okay, now, so that's just there so that we have a background to draw Fenris on. And then I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a shape here. And see, I'm just drawing a triangle. And I'm going to turn that triangle into a building later on so that we can have Fenris looming over the building. So you see what I did here, honey? It's an arc, some triangles up here, a curve arc up there, some scribble bushes here, and then another big triangle there, okay? Whoops, can you not lean on me because you're pushing my chair around? So, okay, so now these are the papers here that you can use. You've got stuff in your hair. So now we have to get to where do we put Fenris? There's your paper. And here's a pencil. She's still eating her banana. Okay, so now we're going to get to how do we put this piece together. So what we're going to do is, when I first design a piece, I think about the elements that make up the piece. And right now we've got a triangle. We've got these curved arcs of the bushes. We've got these triangles of the mountains coming up here. And they don't have to be exact triangles. In fact, exact triangles are a little silly, but I just do that for a quick reference. And then we can I'm drawing an arc here. And probably that's just going to be some sky, and I'll let that go. But for now, it's just an arc. Now, what we need to do is we need to place our big wolf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's really make this wolf seem big. So if this is a building, what's wrong? What about it?
Put stuff on top of it, and I'll put stuff.
Oh, okay. So what we're going to, in order to show this building and show that he's bigger than the building, we have to do what? Make him look bigger than the building, right? So if the building is this tall, I'm going to have his head come up here. And notice that I'm breaking the line of the mountain. I'm doing that because I want him to feel bigger than the mountain does. Or maybe not bigger than the mountain, but that we can't see the mountain because he's in the way. That's how big he is. So I'm going to draw an ellipse there. And what we can do with that ellipse from here, we're going to draw him coming and looking at us. So behind that ellipse, I'm going to draw another one that goes around it and is bigger, but it's closer on this side than it is on that side, okay? So we'll have one ellipse like this and one bigger ellipse like that, okay? Now, on the center ellipse, I'm going to put a line down the middle that way and a line down the middle this way, okay? And at the crosshairs where those meet, on either side, I'm going to put eyes, okay? And in this case, I'm drawing the eyes to be ellipses, right? At an angle, so they're looking down. And later on, we can get to making points on those eyes so they look more like wolf eyes, okay? And then in between those two eyes, I'm going to draw a line connecting the top of those eyes and a line connecting the bottom of those eyes, okay? And what that is, this is called the keystone, and it's it's the forehead right between where the nose meets the head up here of the wolf. So now we're going to show the snout or the nose of the wolf, and we're going to bring this down to the bottom of this circle here, or I can't think of the name of it. Ellipse. This ellipse here. So we're gonna make a box, okay? We're basically gonna have a box that maybe gets a little smaller on this end than it is on that end. So it's wider up here than it is here. And at the bottom of that box, we're gonna make a very, very slender triangle. And when I say slender, I mean it's not very deep. Like, I don't want a triangle like this. I want a triangle like this. Okay? And the reason we're doing that is if we were looking straight on at the nose, it might look like that. But because we're looking at the top of the nose, we're only going to see a portion of the triangle that makes up the nose. So he's going to be looking at us like this. And now you can turn this into an arc, like curve this in all the way up to the side of the eyes like that. And that makes it easier to draw. Now, out here, I'm going to draw out from the back side of the eyes out here like this. And I'm going to bring an arc in close to the nose, but not quite getting there. So like it arcs in and gets close here, but not super close, okay? Doesn't touch or anything like that. So that's like kind of the cheekbones. the nose and the eyes of the wolf. Now up here on the top, where we have this middle part, I'm going to draw a line that kind of splits, that kind of goes maybe a little bit on either side, maybe about halfway to the eyes, like that. All right, and I'll draw down to these cheekbones here. Okay, and I'm going to continue a line up here like that, and that's where we're going to put the ears. And you can make the ears go in different directions, so he looks a little bit more raggedy, like a dog or a wolf or whatever. Yeah, we're going to look a little bit more kind of not just the same on both sides. So now I'm going to draw from the center of this little triangle here. We'll draw down a little bit. We'll come around and out like that. And we'll draw down and around and out like that. Okay? And basically this is to give the sense of the front part of the nose. Now wolves don't really have this kind of, doesn't really come out far there. So I'm going to draw it in a little bit more slender. If it was a cat, I would make a bigger deal out of this because I'd bring that out. But on a wolf, this is a little more slender. So we'll bring that in like that. And then out on the outside here, as we come out, we can draw another line, comes out like this. And from here, we can start drawing fur. And notice the way I'm drawing fur is just little curvy triangles. Okay? I'm not going to draw each individual hair because if I try to draw each individual hair, that's 1,000 little hairs. So instead, I'm just going to draw little curvy triangles that go up and around like this. And I'll bring them all the way up to meet the bottom of the ear there. Okay, and that is what's known as that's the outside of his face there. That's what's known as the outside of his face. And then under here, I'm going to give him a little bit of a lower lip like this. I don't think I'm going to have him growling. I think I'm going to have him just be scary because he's big. And wolves have patterns on them that are kind of fun. So I think we're going to try and get a pattern on this guy that looks very wolf-like. So when we're done with this part, with the structure part, we're going to get to drawing that part as well. So up on top of his head, we can get rid of this line and we can make a jagged hairline like that, just to make it look like he's got hair all around. Now, the way I think of Fenris is he's got to be this big, big, enormous, scary beast. So I'm going to put, remember that outside sphere? That's where his back goes up to. So this right here is the top of his neck, where his neck meets his back. So his arms or his front legs will come from out here. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a big kind of hairy back here like this. I'm going to keep it nice and loose, nice and light first. And then here I'm going to put the legs. And I'm going to draw a leg like this. And another triangle leg like this. And that's basically the upper front legs on his body. So this is like his shoulders are right here, okay? So basically you can treat them like they're triangles. They come in like that. And then what we'll do is right below the body, like right about here, we'll put a sphere, okay? And that sphere represents the elbows. Now the elbows on the wolf go back on the front. So we'd be seeing the inside of the elbow. And then from here, we'll draw a tube, right? So like a tube like this. We'll draw a tube down. And we'll make the tube taper. So it goes from wider to thinner. So it tapers in like this. All right? Now, right now, that's kind of a boring pose. So I'm going to do something a little different with this. Let's make one of these arms come in and the other arm go out. So we'll start this arm, we'll go here, and we'll make this arm go out like this. Sorry, I'm changing it up, but I think it'll be more fun. So we'll make a tube like this, bring it to the elbow like we did before, and then we'll bring this down to the ankle. And on this one, we'll do the same, but that's going to go behind this building. So we'll go back like this. We won't see the rest of that leg. So we'll go back, down, and then we'll from the ankle, we come back out with a wider tube like that, and then we can put the toes and just put four kind of squarish, roundish circles at the bottom here. So it's basically a triangle shape here, a tube to the ankle, and then a tube, to the knee, and then a tube to the ankle, and then a tube out to the toes. Okay? So it should look something like this. Now, on the other side, because we're going to have the building here, let's get that building in. So I'm going to put a church-style building. Remember we showed the church-style buildings are all these kind of triangles and squares and things like that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start this building a little bit below Fenris's paw on the drawing. And we're going to draw a square, or not a square, sorry, a rectangle. Okay, it's wider than it is tall. And then back here, we'll draw a little bit of a parallelogram. And what that means is that these two sides are parallel and these two sides are not. They're going in like this. Or I guess this is not a parallelogram, maybe it's a rhombus, I'm not sure. But basically, these two sides should meet in the back somewhere, right? This one's going to be kind of a straight line, and this one's going to be angled up. So if you imagine them continuing, this one would be going up, and this one would be going almost straight across. So that's the first square. Then we're going to build a second square, and we're going to do the same thing. So where those two met over here, we're going to draw up, and we're going to put the square number 2 like this. Or not square, but cube number 2. So the second cube is going to be, it's going to be a little smaller, so we want to make sure that's the same distance over here. Okay, between this front line and this front line, make it the same distance. And then we make these go back to that same point. And that's called perspective. As long as we have these all going back to the same point, the drawing's in perspective. So we'll draw again up here, and we'll do a third. It's kind of like drawing a cake, right? So we'll draw a third one here. It's kind of a square cake, like so. And then, I think on the top here, we'll put another line that meets this line. That's the same, that's parallel to these lines here. But instead of making it go all the way back, this will go back to here, but only a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll have an angle where we come out here, out beyond this line. And we bring it out like this. So we draw a line on the outside of this and a line on the outside of that, so that this point is outside of this point is outside of that point. And then we draw a curving arc in to the top, like that. Okay, so you have a curve from here to there and a curve from there to there. And then we'll do the same from this point out here to out here. We'll go out beyond that arc. And from here, we'll go out beyond this point here. We'll go arc it out like this. And we'll do the same with this. These should be almost the same exact line, like that. And then we'll connect them. We'll bring this across here. Okay, so now we erase these extra lines, and what we should have is kind of a simple Old Norse building. Okay? This is kind of more of a church-style building, but they have these buildings for all kinds of different things. So that's kind of a simple one. We can get really complex with it. You want to put more pieces on like that, you can. I'm just going simple. So one thing is we need to know that this thing is made of wood. So we'll draw some wooden slats like this. Just on the corners here. Because if we draw every single piece of wood, it's going to look too busy. So we'll make this piece of wood. And we'll put a little window up here. And we'll draw like basically a rectangle. And we'll draw a door in the front here. So we can imagine that the people are like that big. And Fenris is much bigger, right? So we can draw a door. And the thing is, one of the fun tricks about drawing architecture is just draw double your lines. One of the things I learned is that if you do double the number of lines you need, so you have the outside line and you have a line inside, our brains just kind of make it into architecture. So just by doing a double line like that, it just kind of looks like a door frame, you know? And then up here, under these areas here, we'll put shadows in. Okay? We'll put a shadow down here, and we'll put a shadow in here, just to make it feel like it's three-dimensional and that roof is casting a shadow on the building. Aw. Luna's drawing cats. And then up here, I'm going to draw another little ridge here, and I can do the same here. Just for a little detail, just to make it a little more interesting. And we can do the same on the bottom of these, of the rooftop, to make these interesting corners. Because if you look at a lot of, at least Norwegian, Norse architecture, the older buildings have some of this. So there, that's basically a nice approximation of a building. And now we can get back to Fenris, okay? So we'll have the building, and if we want to make it look like it's touching the ground, well, when you have these lines here where they're not touching anything, they're pretty straight. But when a building is touching the ground, you're going to see grass at the bottom of it. So just create a jagged edge down there, you know, and it doesn't even have to be finished jagged edge. You could just kind of leave it like that, and it kind of gives it a little bit of sense of the grass is uneven and it's growing in different ways and whatever. So now we've got the building, and now we have to finish up Fenris. So we've got Fenris's back here, and then we need to have his back end. So back here, I'm going to draw a half arc, and that's going to be his back hip, okay? And in order to make that back hip look like it fits his body, we have to have the back leg here. So we'll draw out to here, and then we'll come down, and his back paw is kind of going to be hidden. So we don't have to worry about seeing the back paw, but we're just going to draw some lines here to indicate that back leg is there. So I draw the outside edge of the leg and maybe something to indicate the inside. And then for the opposite leg from that leg, we'll draw a similar arc out like this. We'll go out to his, just like these, we'll go out to his knee, go out to his ankle, and then down to his paw back here. And that can be, we can make that a silhouette because it's far away, and we want to make this a dark, brooding picture, so we're going to make it sit far away from the character. We can kind of just let it be very quiet in the background, like that. Now, remember how we drew those trees? And we can do the same with this one, too. We'll just throw this in here to make this feel kind of like it's way in the background and not as important as what's going on in the front. And at a certain point, just make a few less lines here, and then you can let it less and less lines, and you can eventually bring it up to meet with the hip. And we'll say that this is in light up here. Now, just to set up the fact that this is the arm here of the front arm, we have to have a little bit of indication of his belly and his rib cage. So we'll draw a line like that just to show his belly and his rib cage. And I'm going to break that line up and make it a little hairy, okay? And the reason to make it hairy is I want these nice sharp lines on the building, but I want Fenris to feel like he's furry. So I'm going to make the lines a little edged, make the edge of the lines a little bit hairy. So see, I can just kind of draw the edges and give them a little bit of movement and activity, and that kind of makes it feel like hair. And we'll do the same down here. We'll kind of come out, add some activity to the lines just to make them feel a little bit more like the wolf is gigantic. And in order to make the wolf feel like it's sitting on the ground, we've got the paws here. We can do the same trick with the grass here like this. Okay, and then we're going to want a shadow from his body. So we're going to assume the light's coming from above, and we'll just draw a shadow underneath him that kind of follows connects his back foot to his front foot here like this. And then his head is going to come forward to that front foot. So we'll make it come out like this. Now the wolf feels like he's kind of next to the building, right? He's kind of right on top of the building. That's kind of fun, huh? Oh, may the fourth be with you too. So now here, we want this to be the center of the front of his chest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little hairy line here, and we'll bring it up. And that's where his chest will split apart like that. And we can go in with legs down to the knees. And remember, we want to make sure this feels like a tube, right? So when we draw it, what I do is I give the lines a little bit of a curve. So I bring them in, out, and around, and then back out around the knee. And then we'll bring it in and around the ankle like this. Okay? That's just to show that these are three-dimensional objects and that they interlock with each other. And we can get rid of these interior pieces here of drawing. Okay? Now, down here with the foot, since we're only going to see one foot, we can bring this down, come around the toe, and let's get these nice big toes here. So we're going to come up, down, and around the toes, up, down and around, up, down and around. So the top of the toe should kind of be flat or curved up, and the bottom, the rest of the toe should kind of curve down and in. And we can throw claws in there if we want. But wolf paws, they don't really have the claws as exposed as that. There's usually hair around it like this. So you're not going to see the claws sticking out really big. And then we'll bring this back up. And remember, if you want to throw some extra details in, remember each one of these toes is connected up here. So there's actually bones inside each one of these from the toe up to the ankle here. So if you want to show that, what you can do is you can kind of just throw a ridge, a line in like this to kind of give the impression that there's bony toe kind of things. And back here, you're going to have that last, that's basically the dog's thumb back here, like that. And under here, of course, you can let the line get a little hairy, like get a little shaggy like that. Now, the next step is going to be getting the, well, let's see. Let's get the trees in. So we originally drew that single arc back here. So I want to keep that arc in the drawing. So what I'm going to do is that arc, let's going to say that there's a field on the ground. The arc might be a little extreme for this building. So maybe I'll curve it a little bit less extreme. So it's more like this. Okay? And Fenris is standing in a field. So what we'll do is we'll throw bushes back here, or trees back here. And since it's the north and it's probably cold, there's probably a lot of pine trees. That's just a guess. That's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to say pine trees. So the way we're going to draw pine trees is we can draw from the ground, we can go out, okay, and up and out. And we just draw, like, basically we move an arc up into a triangle and try not to make them all even. Some of them can go out bigger and smaller and bigger. And then, oh, it goes behind his leg. Let's ignore that. We can continue that up to here. And as they get up to the top, we'll make them a little smaller, these little angles. And then we'll reverse it. We'll come down and make them kind of feel a little random. If they look too the same, it's going to feel like you're just kind of going zigzag, zigzag. And we want to give this a little bit more life. So going a little bit in and out. And then, wait, oh, down here, we're going to hit another tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop this tree, and we're going to go back up. Like that. And we can stop here, and we can go back down. And then, oh, let's stop here, and we'll go back up. And what I'm trying to do is create these shapes that go opposite the legs of the wolf. We don't want them to match the legs of the wolf. So if I have a line going across the leg, that helps. So that way we avoid what's called a tangent. So we'll have the tree come up like this. Now we're going to get this tree's big one. We'll have this one go really big, and we can go up to the top, and then we'll go really down here. Same thing, going down. We'll come out like so. And we'll really kind of make this tree feel like a big, massive pine tree. And if we want, we can throw a couple back here too. We can just go like this, just kind of make them feel a little bit like they're hidden in the background. How you doing over there, Luna?
Fine.
Oh, good, okay. Now we'll do the same thing over here. But we've got to actually, let's address his tail. So first, and then we'll put the trees in over there. So let's have the tail, should the tail go up? If it goes up, he looks like he's about to play. I think his tail should go down because he looks like he's about to be eating the gods, because that's what he does. He eats the gods. He actually ends up being the at the end of the universe, he's the creature that ends up killing Odin. Believe it or not. And I think he eats the sun or the moon. I always forget which. But he kills Odin, and then Freyr takes up his sword and slays him. So I'm just going to basically create two arcs, and I'm going to use furry hair lines to draw those two arcs. So it's like a half moon shape, but I'm making a furry half moon. That's right, a furry half moon. And to make it look a little bit more like it's in the same light as the leg here, what we're going to do is about halfway down it, I'm going to draw a triangle, a furry triangle like that. Okay, so it's a triangle shape, but I'm going to make the edge furry, and then I'm going to fill this in dark. Okay, and that'll be the dark shadow that makes up the bottom of the fur. So back here, what we're going to essentially get is a silhouette of the back legs and the tail. So all this is going to be essentially a silhouette. I hope you guys know what silhouette means. I'm sure some of you do, and some of you may not. Silhouette is basically kind of not a shadow, what do you call it? It's the outline of something in the dark.
Like, yeah.
Right? And now back here, let's put some more trees just to finish out this area. So just starting near the edge of the paper, kind of bring another one of those angled trees out, and we'll bring it down this way too. And remember, you can just make these kind of scratchy lines going down, and then we'll go out this way. And as you can see, just by doing these scratchy lines, they kind of look, like a pine tree. And you go like this, and you can go back down. Pine trees are kind of the easiest tree to draw if you simply. Other trees are harder. So now here, where we have this tree, I'm going to do another one right behind this building here. Actually, I'm not even going to do another tree. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a line, like a jaggedy line, where I'm just going to kind of draw up and down like this. And that's just going to indicate that way off in the distance, there's some more trees. I'm not going to draw them all the way down to the ground. And so with those, I can put those with a little bit of a shadow or silhouette. We'll just say they're dark as well. Okay? And that way, these back trees, these ones way in the back, can act to make the ones in the front feel like they're coming forward. See how that happens? It's like a little magic trick. You make something dark next to something else, and you make it darker and smaller, and it tends to make it look like it goes into the background. Okay? Now we've got a house, we've got Fenris, and we've got the trees. Let's get to Fenris's head. So we've drawn his shoulder here. Let's erase that line there. We want the outside of the shoulder to be a big curve with some of that hair on it. And here, since we're getting closer, I'm going to make the hair pieces bigger than they were over here. So we're going to make them bigger. The closer things get, the bigger they should look. Okay? So we'll have his hair come up and around, and we'll give him a nice kind of almost a mane like a lion, but it's his hair. What's up?
Nothing.
And we'll go around like this, and we'll bring this in like this and around. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You're okay. You're just being quiet today. You're not interacting at all.
Yeah, I'm being quiet today.
Okay. That's okay. We have quiet days sometimes. So now let's get to Fenris's face. So the thing we want to do here is right now we have these very wide open eyes. And I think what we want to do is instead of having his eyes wide open, I think we want him to look, like he's about to eat a god, right? He's about to come and get Odin. So let's make these eyes, let's bring that top, whoa, hey, uh-oh, paper on the floor. I should have taped my artwork, right? Like I said the other day. So here we go. Whoa, almost did it again. So we're going to redraw that line, but instead of it arcing this way, we'll have it come down and then almost go straight, like a flat line, and then back up here. And then we'll draw the other line underneath it, okay? And we'll do the same on this side. So we'll have it come down here, we'll show like frown lines, and then we'll have it go up a little bit, arc a little, and then get straight at the end, and then we'll draw an underline under there, like that. And now wolves have these, we've talked about this before, they have these black areas at the front of their eyes. So we'll put that black area in there. And then they have their pupil and their iris. So we'll put that like so. And up here, we'll make that go black too. And now we've got these angled lines. Let's make a little triangle here. And a diamond shape there. Okay, so this is basically a triangle, a diamond like that. And now we can, remember those two lines we had for the nose? Instead of using those lines, what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw lines like a check mark, like an upside down check mark. We're gonna go up and then down, up and then down. We'll do the same on this side. Up and down, up and down. And then we have the nose here. Remember we had that upside down triangle of the nose? What we're gonna do is we're gonna curve the top of it up a little like this, and then we can bring these points back and we'll make little triangles at the edge like that. And then we'll come down, we'll draw around a nostril, like so, and down to the point. We'll come back up around that nostril like so, and then come back up to that point, and then we can fill that in. And there's his doggy nose. Now, let's get the cheeks, not the cheeks, the front the front upper lip, I guess, of the wolf here. We'll make those nice and sharp and hard. And on the edge here, you can make them a little bit furry, like that, to kind of indicate a little bit that we have, that there's the whiskers that would come off over there. And then we come back up, and then on here, we'll make this deep and thick, where his cheekbone is, and we can come in and make it furry like this. We can come in like that. And we'll get our lower, now at the lips, where the lips meet, they get kind of dark here. So we'll have a darker line there, and then we'll show the lower lip down here, like so. Now out, we'll draw out here, we'll come out. And out here. And now we're going to finish out this hair area here. And finish out that hair area there. A little bit thicker lines. Now, what we're going to say is, if the lower part of Fenris's leg here is in shadow, right? And his head is covering over the front part of his body here, then I would say that this area here has to be in shadow. So let's draw a triangle kind of from the inside of the outer edge of his face here down to that center point. And then again over a little bit inside that. And then we can fill that triangle in with shadow. Okay, so we're treating the shadows like shapes as opposed to trying to draw lots of little shadows. We're going to try big shapes. And we'll do the same in here onto his leg, just so that we have a sense of his leg being covering. In fact, that looks a little too close to me. It's a little uncomfortable, so I'm just going to let this go dark all the way out to here. Okay, and we'll connect the shadow from under the head to the arm, and we'll do the same over here. We'll go like this. Now I want to make sure that I keep this line, so I'm just going to kind of bring the shadow in like that and leave a whitish area in here. And that's just so that we can see the difference between the front of the body and the back of the body. And one of the ways to achieve that too is to make this darker back here. Now let's see. Now let's get back to the head. So we're going to have these lines come up a little. And we're going to have another line under here for his lower eyelid. And then up here we're going to draw his brow. And they can just be, half arcs kind of point in. And now we can get rid of this line there. And we can take this line and kind of draw it out like this. So we'll go up to that line that we drew on the edge of the eye, and we'll bring it in. And that will define the side of his forehead. So now we can get rid of these lines out here. Okay? Now, the ear goes like this. We'll keep that, but inside the ear we'll draw a little furry area like this. And then we can fill this in with a little bit of shadow. And we'll keep the triangle safe for the ear there, and we'll do the same thing over here. We'll draw a little furry area, and we'll draw a half arc, and then we'll fill that in with a shadow. Okay, so now we have this kind of very menacing looking Fenris Wolf. And we can start throwing dark things in here if we want to make him look even more menacing and dark. Because, he's eating the sun and the moon. He's going to, eat the world. He's going to kill Odin, the king of the gods. He's a pretty dangerous guy. Wolf, I guess. So now we've got the wolf. What do you think, Luna? Doing good? Okay. Now we have the wolf. And now let's finish up the piece with some mountains. So up here, I'm going to bring the mountains up. We have these triangles, and we can just kind of meander the lines. We come up, we can kind of let it go in, but keep all your lines at angles. So come up, and you can come down and around like this. So if you keep them at angles, meaning like don't draw any curved lines really, just draw angled sharp lines. You can keep them going like this. And we can keep them going like this. You seem out of it, honey. You okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Fine.
You seem like you're spacing out, or you're just not happy or something. It's tough being home with mom and dad all the time, isn't it? And your brother, not seeing your friends. That's why we're doing this, so maybe we can have a little bit of interaction with the outside world, because it's hard being stuck inside. I think we're all stuck with that right now. Remember that foot that's supposed to be out here? We'll just give that a little bit of a shadow so we know it's there. Okay? We'll get rid of these lines. It's hard right now, I think, especially for kids, because we're so used to seeing each other in school and stuff like that, and and you don't get to hang out with anyone or play games, and you don't have any privacy as much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. So now here on the nose, just to make his nose look a little bit bigger, or not bigger, more dark, we'll do some lines going up like that. And we can do some lines coming up around. Remember, make these lines follow the form of the body. So if the body is going around like this, make the lines follow the form. So if it's coming up like this, go like this. Same with this. Now these trees back here, we can just get rid of that edge and let them kind of sink into the distance. And this house, like right now, I feel like the rest of this piece works together, but that building isn't really working for me. I think part of it is it's the wrong angle. So I'm going to fix that angle by bringing this line down again like that, and bringing this line across and just kind of bringing like this. And then we'll throw some darker shadows underneath. So maybe I'll have to choose which side of the house gets light. Oh, I see. These are tilted. So I have to bring these straight down. I tilted them. Oh, that's why. My paper must have been tilted when I was drawing it. So just straighten up these lines, make them straight up and down. And you can do things like put wooden slats on it. But I wouldn't draw the whole wooden slat. I just kind of ghost in sections of the slat. So you just draw lines that connect without actually connecting them. Because if you draw the whole wooden slat, it gets a little like it's striped. But if you leave it open, just make sure that everything has, if you have one side, you draw the other side. What happens is those lines will lead the eye and make it feel like there's more to it. And then under here, I'm just going to let that go to shadow. Just because I don't feel like drawing it. And this under here too, I'm going to let this go to shadow. Not because I don't feel like drawing it, actually. The reason is I want this to feel like the building is three-dimensional. And I colored the wrong section. There we go. Or I toned the wrong section. We'll get these under here, these shadows under here. we can, I'm going to leave this light because I don't want it to interfere with that back leg. And maybe I'll do a little bit of shadow in there. We'll pretend like there's some light hitting it somehow that gives it that. I'll do the same with this. Like so. And now here we'll just divide this in half with 2 lines, and then we'll divide it 1, 2, and those are like window lines, so we can put windows in there. I don't know if they had windows like this. In fact, they probably didn't, because they didn't have glass. Well, maybe they did have glass windows. I don't know, you know, something I should look up. I'm not sure if they had glass windows. Probably not, but maybe they did. So we're gonna have panes of glass in here, and just, they're basically, you know, we're gonna draw 6 squares. Really, that's what we're doing. What you writing, sweetie?
Nothing.
And then down here, I think the door, we can make the door look a little bit more important. So we'll throw a triangle here, a curved triangle, and we'll arc it like that. And then this door looks like it's a door for an important building. And put a little shadow underneath here. Alrighty. So what do you think, Luna? Is that done?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think? Oh wait, no. Let's put a little bit of a shadow down under the building here. Just so it feels like it's in the same space with Fenris Wolf. Alright. We're missing something on this picture, aren't we? We're missing 2 things. We're missing the sky. So let's go from the mountain up. We'll just draw some lines straight up to give it a little bit of a sky here. Just fill in around the wolf. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to kind of give us a sense that there's a sky there. Right, behind the mountains. Very simple. See, drawing doesn't have to be super hard. It just has to be looking at things from simple shapes and figuring out what the simple shapes you want to draw are, and then working with those shapes. So a lot of the simple shapes we have here is like, there's a circle here, there's a tube here, a tube here, there's triangles back here. You know, a lot of this is just basic simple shapes that you can use to draw your drawing with. And then you can turn it into something really special. But if you don't have the basic shapes, what happens is your drawing starts to fall apart because things don't look solid. So now one thing I want to do, I think, with this piece, just to make this feel a little bit more like the trees aren't just like starting immediately, is I think what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of that there, okay? And I'm going to turn my paper sideways. And I'm going to draw on the sideways sheet, I'm going to draw kind of a loose line that goes up. So we're going to draw it like up, like this. And it's going to go like almost a straight line. And then I'm going to stop and come back. But I'm going to make the line loose, meaning it's going to be a little wavy. And then I'm going to go back up like this. And then I can come back and go back up. I'll let that go to the edge of the paper. And I'll draw another line down here and go out and back in and out. And out, and almost getting all the way up here, and then coming back like this, like that. And we'll bring that in, and then what I'll do is I'll let that line go in front of his leg here. You know what that is? It looks like mist. And we're going to continue this line over here. And just continue this line over here like this. Just making these random shapes. And we'll let it interfere with the back leg there, so that we can make it feel like, oh, this creature's standing in the mist looking at us. Woo! And we can erase these lines and make them a little bit less distinct back here. So sometimes one of the things about things that are far away is they become less distinct. So if you want them to look like they're further away, the edges of them should be a little blurrier, a little simpler, a little softer. And as they get closer, the things should have crisper, darker edges. So all these background areas here, like while they're kind of dark, we don't want them to be too dark, because we don't want them to be as dark as what we have on him. So I'm going to break out my extra dark pencil, and I'm going to go in to some darker areas on him. And you can just do this by pushing harder on your pencil in these areas and just really make Fenris feel really, really dark. So I just go in and I make the things that make the front part of him really dark. So see, these areas in here, these areas in here, just make them look super dark. And I'll even draw a little, remember that big triangle we drew? I'll draw a smaller version of that triangle in here, just to make it feel like that gets really dark under his chin here. And we can bring it around and up like so. And we'll do the same for the edges on his legs. Make these nice and dark. And here, just the ones underneath. I don't think we need to do it to the top legs, the top of the legs up here. Maybe a little bit. Maybe where it dips in, just a little. But I think the main thing is just keeping the separation between the front of the body and the back of the body, making these lines darker, getting the toes to feel a little darker, right? Getting the inside of the ear here to feel a little darker, like that. I'll go in like this. We can even throw a few more lines on here. And then I think that building, because that's the thing that's closest to us, we'll give that a darker outline.
Why not have it already like broken?
Huh?
Why not have it already like broken?
Like the house is broken?
Mm-hmm.
I could. I think I kind of already started the drawing and it didn't make it broken. So I think I would draw it a little differently if I was going to do that. But I think that's a really cool idea. And maybe if I do this drawing again, which I might, because hey, it'd be fun to do another version of this that's a little bit more of a finished pace. Maybe I will do that. But for the purposes of doing a drawing session, I think I don't want to change it this late in the game. Does that make sense? But that's a really cool idea. Have the house look like it's falling apart. You could even put a little person here like, oh no. If you want, oh no, I'm Odin. Let me run away. I don't think the gods were quite that small next to Fenris. But he could be that big. Oh no. See? Little doughboy guy. You missed it. I erased him. Sorry. You want to see him? We'll draw him again if you want. He was just this big. Show?
I mean, you have to correspond it with the door because the door.
Correspond what with the door?
Because
The figure?
person.
Yeah, he was about this big. See? Oh no, Mr. Bill. I don't know why I said Mr. Bill. Don't ask. See? He's that big. But I'm not going to draw a person there because I think they're smart enough to lock their door. So actually what we could do is we could throw on the front of the door, we could throw a big round knocker like that. Like it's basically drawing a horseshoe like that. And then we can throw big sideways triangles over the front of the door. And these were how old hinges used to work. So you throw little sideways triangles like this, put little bumps on them like that. And then you can draw wood for the door like this. Make it feel like the wooden door. Remember, don't draw every single slat. Just draw parts of them. Same with the front of the house. Just draw parts of these slats. Don't draw the whole slat. If you draw the whole thing, it just feels kind of too much. Well, so there we go. I think we've got a pretty decent Fenris. What do you guys think? You did some inking already, Kimberly. Holy cats. Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to ink this guy today, but maybe we can do that in another session. We can do some inking on some of these older drawings. What do you think, Luna? Yeah, you seem so out of it today.
I am.
Yeah, Luna's out of it today. So, what time is it, Luna?
3.
Oh, gosh, we're late. Okay, so thank you very much for coming and drawing with us. This was a lot of fun. I like doing stuff that has a little bit more, like, information about it. Oh, wait. The front of his face should be dark here. Because it's facing down. Sorry, don't forget that. Otherwise, it looks like his nose is lit up.
May 5th already.
So it's May 5th, not May the 4th. So May
Wait,
the
I don't know.
4th
I think it's May
is yesterday.
6th.
No, today's the 5th. Yesterday was May the 4th.
Really?
Yeah.
I
And
think today's the 6.
I didn't do a Star Wars drawing yesterday. Oh well. But I didn't. So anyway, have a great day. Have fun drawing. Thanks for drawing with us. And if you have pictures, post them up here or on the Monster Art School Facebook page. I'm still trying to get my act together to get the Monster Art School Facebook page functioning. But if you look for it, you can look up Steve Monster or Monster Art School with Steve Ellis, and you'll find it there. And I'm gonna eventually start getting the videos going through that server. Okay. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for when we do the next. I think tomorrow. What do you think? We should do Hell? Maybe. Okay. But I'm gonna do Hella from the myth, not Hella from the movies. Or I'll do some combination of Hella from the myth and Hella from the movies. So we'll talk about what the myth character looks like, and we'll talk about how it's different from the movie, and we'll talk about stuff like that. Okay? Anyway, have a great day, and thanks for drawing with us, guys. It's Taco Tuesday! Yay! Bye, everyone.